Okay, like basically, I rewatched the video and found out what I was talking about, so I can return. See, I tend to forget because I'm already like experiencing or like conceptualizing things up here, so I tend to forget that like, I mean, yes, while I do experience time in the same way everyone else does, it doesn't matter to me because like my brain's like conceptualizing this in the mind's eye. See, the reason I found this out was because let me clean up the board. Okay, I'm just gonna start from scratch because to give myself more room to write, because it's gonna take more time to explain the fourth dimension than it is the third, and then it's going to take increasingly more time to explain the fifth as you find the word struggle to find the words. And okay, this is why autistic people are always in their heads, because they can conceptualize in the fourth dimension better because their subconscious is more at play for whatever reason. Um, I don't know. Maybe that means their prefrontal cortex is not in play as much, or I don't know. It has to do with the bioavailability of serotonin. I know that because I got depressed, and my ability to conceptualize in my mind's eye just became muddied. I didn't. I couldn't conceptualize a path forward at all. I thought it was ending. I couldn't see my way out of it. Everything I thought was just like, okay, suicide. So, well, basically, what I realized once I got therapy and I got help, serotonin, yes, uh, is the answer. And no, you don't increase. You don't just like blindly increase serotonin because you'll give yourself serotonin syndrome if you're retarded. You increase the bioavailability of serotonin. So like the ratio of availability of it in your body. I don't know how to explain that part. I'm not like a medicinal psychiatrist. I don't know that. But basically that's how it works, because once I got more serotonin, I got more motivated. And well, the reason I found I was motivated was because my executive function was restored. So I was like, I'm able to conceptualize a lot better now than I did before. Well, then what I realized is your mind's eye is really your perception of okay, I need to explain this. So we'll just say this is your subconscious. This is your prefrontal cortex or whatever. This is the world explainer. This, you see your eyes. This is what you experience out of. This explains your experience to you. But it's drawing from your subconscious, which is where your real consciousness is stored. Because studies show that your subconscious knows what you want before this. So basically, this guy over here is just explaining away this guy every single time. And the method by which this guy does this is he plays a game, or the most efficient way for him to interpret it is to play a game of negative 20 questions with himself. Whatever. That could look more like a cue. You know what's messed up? Like, this is actually true with fifth dimensional physics. Well, what you'll learn is that all methodologies by which to explain events in the universe are all right at the same time. It's just we're all shit at explaining it. We're all trying to like convince each other of like this different methodology. Like, no, bro, this works, or no, bro, convert to this. And it's like we're all converging on this truth, which is like the fifth dimensional physics. And like once we realize that, we're gonna realize, wow, we're all fucking retarded. Why were we doing any of this, trying to convince each other when like we all ended up in the same place? Anyways, that's for another day. But hold on. So any insane idea, or any sane idea, well, that's just my opinion. they all converge. And I'm going to explain how. Basically, you gaslight yourself into the universe exists. Yeah, hold on. Let me just explain it. So what you realize is the game of negative 20 questions is actually unwittingly... why am I writing them as G's? Unwittingly, quantumly, I guess, entangled methodology. Because what it's actually doing... See, to us, it just appears as being... Let's see. I don't even know how to spell this guy's name. I guess it doesn't really matter. Well, see, the thing is why I don't know about like these other people is because I came to this conclusion on my own using the scientific method, as everyone else could do. But I mean, I guess you could look at the work of other people to also get here. As I said, all explanations of the universe actually tend towards the same truth, which is the quantum physics leading into what I guess I'm going to call iterational physics, because I don't know. I haven't seen anyone really explain it. Well, I guess I didn't go looking because, I already thought I knew how it worked. So, anyways. I mean, I looked, but like half-heartedly, because I was like, I don't expect to really find anything on this. Wait, basically, yeah. So, it's a quantumly entangled methodology because essentially what you're doing is being Schrodinger's douchebag. So if you make a joke, like say, hey, dude, you're retarded, which is my favorite word because I'm retarded. By old understanding of mental illness, or like different, it's different dimensionality, basically, of thought. It's how trained your mind's eye is, essentially. How well you're able to conceptualize is your measure of IQ, essentially. The higher your IQ, the better you can like see blueprints in your mind's eye and stuff, right? If your IQ's really low, you don't even bother with conceptualization because you can't like really. Maybe that's even the people who don't have an inner monologue. It's just like, why even bother, right? But you can teach anyone to reach this level, which you're going to have to, according to the fifth dimensional rule set. Anyways, so as I was saying, this one dude's like, okay, I guess I gotta use a different marker. Okay, then this dude's like, wow, bruh, oh, that hurt my feelings. My fees. And then this dude's, he meant it at first, but then he's like, oh, like that actually affected this person. It was just a joke, bruh. Right? So, based off whatever this person says, you come up with your answer. It doesn't matter whatever you thought before. You base your answer off of whatever happened. But, so in a way, you're essentially... this joke is like, I guess somehow quantumly entangled with this, because you're essentially here. Okay, here's the future result, right? Future result, but it's based on the present. Yes. Okay. But planted in the past, right? Planted and past. Because, like, well, it would be technically wrong to say it existed in the past, I guess. Okay, you'll understand that later. But yeah. So, past, present, future. But to this person, it looks as if you basically explained why you were thinking this. So, as time went, like, basically you got this answer and convinced them that it was in the past. So you're actually kind of using the future to influence the past to influence this person. You're unwittingly practicing quantum mechanics. You're collapsing the wave function based off of whatever they say. Because, okay, well, okay, so what you have to understand is quantum exists in a superposition of states, right? So whatever happens is whatever is going to happen doesn't happen until you observe it. Okay, so basically, I don't know if I don't want to explain the whole double slit experiment. If you don't understand that, I guess you could go look that up or whatever. But basically, it's proven that your observation, just the fact of you observing something, collapses the wave function. It forces it to choose one. So so basically, that explains how. Hold on, I have to think of a way to word this. Okay, I guess the best way for me to explain this, I'm thinking of is so essentially, the universe doesn't happen until it's observed, is what you basically understand from quantum physics, because the act of measuring something solidifies it, or like legitimizes it, I guess. You observed it, so like because I guess like if you were to shoot a particle, or like if you were using light from a microscope to like you push things around, and that just you can never like observe the of like the atomic scale, I believe. Something nucleus, or something. See, I guess like Bohr's model or whatever it's called. I don't really know what it's called. I don't know if I'm referring to the right thing, but essentially like the model by which you can understand atoms, or the function of atoms, is just a conceptualization of. This is just, we just use this to understand it in the third dimension. But when you actually try to measure it, you can't actually see this, because you're basically messing it up by trying to. So you have to kind of like assume its state until like you measure. Well, so you're basically putting it into existence, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. By observing it, you're legitimizing it, right? So, okay. I'm sure I lost some people, but I'm going to keep reiterating this video in different ways every single time until everyone gets it eventually, I guess. I don't know. What else would I do, right? Okay. So essentially, you end up coming to realize whatever you conceptualize, you can just Schrodinger's douchebag your way to that answer, or that reality. Like you can like collapse your own wave function in the way you want to shape reality, right? But then you see, well, what most people think is like, oh, that leads to solipsism. But it's like, well, no, it's fucking retarded. Hold on. So, because I guess this is like if the Copenhagen interpretation was true, which I don't believe it is. maybe somehow you could get like to whatever I'm going to explain next using that, but I haven't been able to. So, or I guess I just didn't try. I don't know. Well, because the many worlds theory does it too. And it's like, well, if it has any predictability power at all, like, explains the same thing. That's why flat Earth is not real, because it doesn't have any predictability power to it. So it's actually not valid. Because it can't really predict celestial events. Like there's a way you could technically make the flat Earth model work, I'm sure, in like some higher dimensions. But like then you're really stretching. It's like, come on, bro. Like if the Earth is a globe, as in 3D. Stop deluding yourself. Anyways, well, and then if your basis for believing in flat Earth is God, well, congratulations, because this method just proves God too. So like this is actually the correct way. The Earth is actually a globe, but like God is still real. So, well, that's a failure of language. When I say God, I'm not saying God. I'm saying like the eternal mechanism of like whatever makes dark energy or whatever the hell go, which I believe is like somewhere in the fifth dimension. So basically what I'm going to do is solve like all the world's problems, I guess, by explaining this to someone who eventually gets it and picks up on it. Anyways, so they're one and the same. See, this is the failure point at which all things converge on the same. Okay. That's why all things are true at once, paradoxically, because the universe is set up in such a way that it can never be wrong, because that's a paradox. But then you're like, okay, well, if it can never be wrong, well, okay, you have to account that for like other people are like actual real people, because they say they have consciousness too, right? And if they do, then they're kind of like willing themselves into existence by observing, right? So we're kind of like, I guess the best way to visualize this, okay, in the many worlds interpretation of quantum physics, it's like when it says the superposition of states, when it has been observed, it picks a reality to well, essentially what happens is, okay, this is a frame, which I've also heard it referred to as the block universe, but I call it frames because I think the other thing's stupid. So you exist in a frame. Every single point of quantum, of wave collapse is a frame. So I guess it would best be visualized as just like random points of frames in different, like, see, the reason why you're able to like conceptualize stuff is because you're picking a part of the wave function to quantum tunnel to using Schrodinger's douchebag, and you basically, okay, you create something, you enact like these things. Well, the thing is, whatever. The thing is, like, other people are doing that as well, right? Well, you're like, well, okay, well, then, we never... Well, you have to... Remember Schrodinger's douchebag, how, like, that douchebag convinced that guy using a future where he's like, oh, it was a joke, to, like, convince him, like, or gaslight him into, like, thinking, oh, okay, that's what he already thought in the past. Or he basically used the future to influence the past to influence this guy's present, and it hasn't happened yet. I don't know if anyone understands that, but basically, well, you need the other conscious person to be there to like dupe them, right? I mean, unless you think everyone's an NPC. But I mean, as far as we're aware, like everyone claims they're conscious, and like consciousness does exist, because in the physical world, the third dimensional world, because when the brain dies, the body dies, like the consciousness goes away, right? Because like the person's never alive again to like experience consciousness, essentially. And there's no like biometric readings or whatever, I guess, because they're dead. They're dead. Like all their biological functions stop working. What happens to them, though? Well, what you have to understand is, since the whole black hole thing I was explaining earlier, like all time exists at once, it's probably best to conceptualize it as a circle. So here's like your life, right? And here's like the day you were born. You go through your entire life until since time exists all at once, like the universe is deterministic, proven by black holes that like play it all out. Because it's like, okay, well, if you ever want to know how the universe plays out, you just go in a black hole. Which means it already all exists at once. And you're like, okay. So when you're Schrodinger's douchebagging, you're basically conceptualizing something you want and you're quantum tunneling to it. This is how this operates, right? And something I noticed when I increased my serotonin bioavailability, my executive function and ability to conceptualize was restored. And then my dreams started becoming more structured. Structured dreams. Okay, apparently my language is not that structured. Okay. Neither is my color choice. Structured. So basically, you train your mind's eye, which is like the whole IQ thing I was talking about earlier. Is just basically how well your mind's eye is like trained to like conceptualize, right? And executive function. To be executive function is basically the method by which the subconscious conceptualizes the prefrontal cortex. Oh, it's planning. That's basically what's going on in your brain. You're planning. You're conceptualizing and you're quantum tunneling to that future you want because you're planning out your, I guess, methodology. And if you Schrodinger's douchebag your way on top of your methodology, basically, you can like kind of hack that to explain away your subconscious, right? So then you figure out all your motivations, and you're like, wait, like I kind of know what I do then. That's what you start to realize. So you're like, okay, I hypothesize about here, I'll have this achieved. And basically you just quantum tunnel your way to whatever you want it to happen. Yeah, well, you basically make reality, right? Well, and then it's like, okay, well then how do other people exist? Remember how I said the other conscious person needs to be there to for you to trick them, right? Using quantum mechanics unwittingly through the method of Schrodinger's douchebag. It gives you some sort of sense of free will or agency. And it's like, we'll investigate that. So if other people say they're real, other conscious beings say, oh, I have a conscious experience. And when their conscious experience ends, it actually ends because they don't continue to keep saying that they have a conscious experience, right? Like there's no proof that they have a conscious experience after that. So it's like, where does the conscious go? Well, we understand like the ability to conceptualize is the fourth dimension. It's quantum physics. Quantum physics is the math that explains time, the dimension of time, the fourth dimension. So basically what it shows you is that time is there all at once. The black hole thing, right? So whenever you do die, you basically just restart. Because like you never actually experience your death because you're unable to conceptualize it. You can't even imagine what death is like. I mean, you can imagine, I guess you can probably imagine you're dead and like your funeral or whatever, but like you're observing this. Like, how are you observing your death? Like you'll never be able to observe your death. It's just inconceptual. I don't know. And because you can't conceptualize that, you can never quantum tunnel to something like you never conceptualized. death isn't real. So it's like, okay, well then we have no free will, right? Correct in the third dimension, because every, like, I guess neurochemical blah blah biochemical, every single label you could basically use, psychology, everything convenes to make you perfectly, right? And you're like, well, damn, okay, so I don't have free will at all if my subconscious is like tricking me. But then you're like, well, no, I do have free will, because I'm the one that controls my subconscious. I'm the one that conceptualized and quantum tunneled to it. And you're like, how does this paradox happen? But then quantum tunneling is basically creating your own reality, right? So are you God? Is this true? I don't even know how to spell it anymore. Which is why this looks like schizophrenia to other people. It's just higher dimensional conceptualization. Basically, I'm trying really hard to ground myself to reality to basically explain all this. So yes, and the way I grounded myself to reality is like my serotonin bioavailability increased like slowly over time. Like, so like I eased into it, and then like also I forgot what I was gonna say. Dang it.